Oh, so you can actually live from your, wow, you gotta teach me that. I'm learning.
Yeah, we're using a thing called Restream. I'll send,
Ah,
but I think we're live.
okay.
Look,
Hi,
uh,
Burlington.
yeah. Hey,
How may
everybody. I'm here with Deborah Ingram, who I'll let you introduce yourself and what your role is with Burlington.
So my name is Deborah Ingram. I'm a Burlington resident, lifelong except for college. Just kind of taking over the Burlington Resident President Association or Association President position, and just really kind of diving into a whole lot and trying to see what changes we can bring about for Burlington. Collaborating with any and everybody I can at this point.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, tell us where Burlington is.
So Burlington is a little small jewel, I call it, in the heart of East Knoxville, closely located to Chahawi Park, right in the split of Asheville Highway and Rutledge. So you can say it's from Castle, I guess you can say Castle Street and Martin Luther King, until it splits to go into the backside of Holston. I can't think of that name right now. Going towards Chahawi Road.
Hmm. Yeah, and it includes Speedway Circle
Mhm.
as I would consider that a landmark there. Uh,
Absolutely.
it includes Tammy's Fried Green Tomatoes, uh, right? It does, yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. It includes a lot of old structures that definitely has a lot of potential to bring back the heart of Burlington as to what it used to be in its heyday.
yeah, downtown Burlington, if you will,
Yeah.
right? So what's some of the recent history, just to get us up to speed here before we get into like where we need to take Burlington and what we need to do? I know there's been a lot of talk among the city council about uh, did have we provided for Burlington? Have we not? Have we done too much study? Are we in analysis paralysis? There seems to be some money moving around somewhere, but I haven't heard anybody say it's actually getting invested in Burlington yet.
Yeah. So my account on the history of Burlington, it has a lot of historical ties as far as Speedway Circle that you mentioned earlier, and Cal Johnson uh, owning a track on Speedway Circle. So he was one of our first Black millionaires in Tennessee, and so it's, to me, in my opinion, it's really a landmark area that should be dignified as such. Um, I'll go a little further back to my understanding. Uh, this area actually was like kind of what West Knoxville is now. Um, way back when, I can't give you dates. I apologize. I didn't pull my dates up. My apologies. However, during the first urban redevelopment project, the neighbors here who were previously here, white landowners or white homeowners, they moved out to West Knoxville. And those who were coming from the bottoms, which is Old City and near Old City, were moved from that area again during urban redevelopment in that time and moved to Walter P., Burlington area, this entire community, Park City. So it, we've made it our own, but we've not been able to obtain, to my knowledge, any funding to continue to make it our own for the people who reside here and beneficial for the people who reside here. Now, you did ask me about some possible monies moving, and I've heard, I've not been able to get in contact with anyone, unfortunately, but I have been made aware that um, from our last survey with East Tennessee Design Center, we were supposed to be allocated a little over $600,000, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
according to the meeting we had with the mayor and the council who confirmed that information. However, it was told to us that we may have to do another like survey, kind of like what the East Tennessee Design Center did about, I want to say it's 2 or 3 years ago, I want to say,
And
which
that was the plan. The
that was the plan, right? Right. So, in my opinion, again, it's always in my opinion. and I do want the consensus of the community. So please correct me if I'm misspeaking or stepping on toes. Uh, but they want to do another survey in order for us to obtain that money in order for it to be allocated to our neighborhood. Also, what has come to light, to my knowledge, that they're wanting to build a 49 unit low income housing on the 4500 block of Holston Drive, which I think I've not mapped this out, or nor have I seen like any plans or anything on it except for in written format. Um, but I believe that's the old, or close to the old Food City, or the what's now Carm
Mhm.
distribution center. Um, if that's the case, it's again come to my knowledge that that is an investment of $1.4 million. Unfortunately, this was the first time hearing about it. When I was made aware of it, this was only a couple of weeks ago, and I just kind of felt like, here we go again, because Burlington has gotten the short end of the stick regarding all the updates that's going on throughout the city. West Knoxville, South Knoxville, North Knoxville, Central Avenue, the waterfront. Everyone's gotten money to make their home in their area more comfortable and living, except for Burlington.
Mhm.
And one more thing before I hand it back to you. To my knowledge, I tried to get records, financial budgeting records for the city prior to 2000, the year 2000. I was not able to find anything on the archives or anyone that could tell me anything. So it is to my understanding, in my opinion, since I was unable to find that, that we haven't been budgeted in until about 2008, 2009, as far as a community receiving any financial resources from the city. And so that when we have lack of investment, it feels like that we're not worth the investment. So we most certainly are worth it, and we're wanting to show our worth now, even more so with everything going on. It's kind of highlighting this, and it's a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that it's really important to note that nobody's saying that there shouldn't be development of construction documents and study and whatnot. I think that the important thing to note here is that that's been done, and
Yeah,
it's been done more than
it's
once.
redundant at this point.
Yeah. So I think there's always a lot of talk about process, especially lately. Um,
Yeah.
so I think I just throw that out there as an important thing. So let's talk about downtown Burlington and how the state and the city and the county could work together with the residents of Burlington to create new businesses, not just move businesses in, right? But create new businesses that come out of the community and are born out of the community.
Hmm.
Uh, we have this plan that's on our website, and as part of our Black agenda is to create a Nano Capital program, which is
Yeah.
essentially a low barrier. Here's $5,000 to do whatever to pay your first and last month's rent, right? So I've talked to so many people that are trying to start businesses that are like, I need a space, and when I can have a space, I have a good plan to pay for the space, but I
Yeah.
can't afford the deposit and the first month's rent like
The
that.
entry barrier is way higher than it should be for
Exactly.
someone to get into whatever it is that they want to do.
Exactly. And that's what nano capital is for me, is saying, if what is the barrier? And it's all the time fluctuating. I talked to a lady that lives in Montgomery Village in South Knoxville, and she wanted to start a cleaning business.
Hmm.
And I said, well, it sounds like you got clients, you got a plan. What's the barrier here? And she's like, yeah, I got to have a vacuum cleaner, and I don't have the $200-300 to buy a nice vacuum cleaner. That,
Mm.
that's the kind of hurdles that we're talking about. We're talking about $300 business registration fee. We're talking about the small things it takes to get a business off the ground, uh,
Absolutely.
that are not there, or the small things that are needed to grow. Right? If you are uh, uh, whoever, if you are Mo, right, and you want to open a new Chef Mo's location, there are a ton of barriers, even for an existing business,
Absolutely.
to expand or grow. So that to me is one of the biggest things that we can do, is say, let's alleviate that barrier to entry or barrier to expansion. So if we did that, what do you think? What do you think the community could create in downtown Burlington with the spaces? Because there are amazing spaces there. And by the way, anybody that's that's watching this, if you have a question, type into the comments. But also, I need everybody to go to Burlington. If you just learned what Burlington was on this call, I need you to go over there. There are plenty of places to eat and to patronize. Uh, and
And let me provide the proper disclaimer because I've literally run into people who've just moved to the city and were already warned, oh no, don't go to East Knoxville. It's dangerous there. It's not dangerous here, no more danger than it is in any other space in Knoxville, in another city, in another state. The difference is there is a lot of um, brown, black, and poor white people here. Plain and simple. We are different social equal, social economic status in this area. That doesn't mean we're going to harm anyone. So we welcome people to come and see how you can help us invest. It's not to count anyone out as far as being an investor in Burlington, but we want you to invest in the people who are already functioning or trying to function as a business, so that because we have systematic racism that unfortunately is tied to employment of people and their wages, and so in their bank account and their credit, and so it goes much more deeper than just the entry barrier. And so if you're going to come and see and view Burlington, do it for the right purpose. Make sure that you talk to the people and bond with the people and understand where they're coming from as to why we might be a little more upset than you feel that we might need to be.
absolutely. And then you might understand why there's so much pushback when we start talking about another study for Burlington,
Yes.
another barrier, right? And it's all about barriers. For the way that I look at it is that often when we remove the barriers and we allow things to go forward, good things, people trying to start businesses, people trying to make their community nicer, we get good results when we remove the barriers.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's a huge thing. What is your ideal? So thinking 5 years from now, say we invest $5 million in Burlington, and say we want to invest this strategically. We don't want to come in with a bunch of out of town or out of area contractors and push something on the community. But say we take $5 million, right?
Hmm.
And it's not a lot of money. We spent $7 million on the Magnolia streetscapes in that
Right.
small area, right? So say we take $5 million and we say we're going to be really intentional. We're going to make sure that we're pulling in black-owned business to do this. We're pulling in people like B&B. We're pulling in black contractors. We're going to do some things in the community to make it nicer. But we're also going to invest in businesses, invest in people moving into different places, invest in downtown Burlington. What does Burlington look like in 5 years? Best case scenario, if we have this huge investment.
Best case scenario that I can see is investing in its people and what they want to do. A lot of people in this area that are business owners cook. They cook food and they sell food, and that's their livelihood. What would be beneficial in our, I guess you can say, downtown Burlington area is kind of like a commercial kitchen, maybe. And I want to make sure that I give this disclaimer. I did get that information from another person. My apologies for not shouting you out. I do not remember who I got that from. I do apologize, but that was a valid point. Why not make a commercial kitchen for people to utilize on a commercial scale to be able to sell as much as they can to provide for their families without having to go through that barrier of having an actual brick and mortar store
Mhm.
or having to sell it out of the house and possible health code violations, even though the people might be very clean. Who knows? Another thing I can see is us addressing our food desert issue because we are, in fact, a food desert.
Mhm.
I did hear, I believe it was one of the council persons state that we have Save a Lot in Kroger's. However, they do not provide sufficient um, fruits and vegetables and healthy alternatives that are affordable, more affordable than a hamburger at McDonald's. So I would love to see um, some type of businesses affiliated with uh, our mind, body, and spirit, as well as our nutrition. whether that be health and fitness, that we can walk to, that we don't have to drive to North Knoxville at Planet Fitness or South Knoxville to Planet Fitness in order to attend, or the closest area is AMJ Fitness is right down the road on Magnolia. But of course, you have people here who may not have transportation. So again, I want to make sure that we're utilizing whatever we're going to do in our community that's going to benefit everybody. Um, Another aspect is something for the kids to do. A lot of times we have kids, of course, they all go to school, but in this situation with Corona and not being able to do anything or go anywhere, or having a place that's indoors that you don't have to travel to Farragut for, or Cedar Bluff, or West Knoxville in general, that will be beneficial. Um, Strange enough, I heard or I read an article about Detroit, I believe it was. A gentleman opened a Nerf gun um, arena. Now that seems, docile, and people say, "Oh my God, guns in East Knoxville. This is a gun zone. You don't want to advertise that." That's fun for kids. That's harmless. We know where they would be. And lastly, I would say probably a big meeting space. We don't have a centralized meeting space where we can do different activities, meet, have business events. We do have Honey Rock Church, and they are available to us. However, at $25 an hour, some people may not be able to afford that. So we want to make sure that we have some type of center or central area that we can gather within a building instead of having to be outside exposed to the elements.
Yeah, and I think a couple things to note there. We all know that Save a Lot doesn't have. Well, I say that maybe I'm making an assumption. Maybe there are people watching this call that have never been in a Save a Lot. They don't have the best food, right? They don't have the freshest vegetables and other things. And from many parts of Burlington, it's over a mile to get to Kroger. And that's a long walk if you don't have a car.
Mhm.
And a car is expensive to maintain, $5,000 a year minimum. Uh, and that's a lot if you're only making minimum wage, $18,000, $19,000 a year. Uh, I think that it's important too to think about where investment in the city exists today and what those areas look like, right? So let's talk about South Waterfront for a second.
Mhm.
It's a place that's gotten a lot of investment, and as far as I know, many of the business owners there came from the South Knoxville community, um, and so I think it's an interesting idea. Many of the business owners, not many of the large scale development uh,
Mhm.
apartment complexes. That's where I think you've had a lot of people from outside the community come in.
Right.
We definitely want the community to be responsible for those things. We don't want to see swaths of the block torn down and big apartment complexes put up by developers, especially ones from out of town. Um, but when we think about that, do you ever think that there's a place, um, especially with like the new outdoor dining permit and things? Do you ever think there's a place in Burlington for more of those restaurants? So the commercial kitchen, I think, is an amazing idea, and it sounds like that would spur more restaurants if there was good money available. Uh, there would be more of those people who I know are cooking amazing food to create restaurants in Burlington, especially downtown Burlington. I'm a big fan of walking around, eating at a bunch of different places.
Yes.
Uh, so I think that probably a huge potential for Burlington is for restaurants and things to spin up there from people that live in the community.
That was one of my other me and my husband were speaking about this. We were wanting to kind of do a introductory of like a food truck lineup. Same thing that they do I believe, what is it called? Um Central Park or something like that.
There's a couple now. There's the Southside Garage in South Knoxville, and there's the Central Filling Station. That's what it is, the Central Filling Station.
So I was thinking about that, just, once or twice a week, because we don't have a lot of access to different items or foods other than like some of the chains that are here, and that's minimal at best. Um, but like a food truck park, where people can come in maybe Tuesday and Thursday, bring their business trucks, park there over in the parking lot where Tammy's fried green tomatoes is,
Uh-huh.
and not to compete with Tammy or anything, but to also bring her business. It's people who do not know that she sells fried green tomatoes and chicken. It's people who don't know the barbecue place up here sells barbecue. The people who don't know about the Snowball um, company who sells the great snow cones, or I guess slushies, I call them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was wanting to do, well, we were really wanting to do that for our Jubilee, August 8th. I'm intending to still try. However, with COVID, I don't know what we can expect. So that's dependent on the situation as it goes, and I'm watching the news heavily to find out what goes with that. But if there are any business owners who are food truck owners, please do reach out to me in the comments. I can't see them unfortunately, but I will get them from Matthew. Uh, and just let me know if you would be interested in doing so, and if so, we can maybe set up something with the city to bring about what's beautiful to our community and bring you as well.
Absolutely. And there's other food truck owners, I think, in Burlington, right?
Yeah.
Just walking
It's
around Burlington talking to people, I've seen other parked food trucks. So
It is
uh,
many of them. So I would love for that's my goal is to make sure they are out because they benefit the most. People know they've seen it in their yard. They've seen the food truck in on the parking garage or the parking lot by the yard, and so they want to know more about that person or that place or their business or their services, and I want them to be able to do so. So that not only that we can break the ice and become more familiar with each other, kind of going back to the days of our grandparents where we all took care of each other. It's a village raising a child. Well, right now we need a village.
yeah, absolutely. And that is something I haven't thought about much is a lot of those food truck vendors are going to these places like Central Filling Station and Southside Garage, but they're not able to serve in their own community because there's not been the investment to create the space. Uh,
Exactly.
but you talked about at the beginning of this call. I don't think we were on live when you said it, but one of the big things is, especially right now, people need spaces in their own neighborhoods. Uh,
Absolutely.
People need spaces in their own communities to get together as even in a socially distant way to share this. Hey, I love going to Tammy's. I love uh, trying her tea, which I really do. Her tea is like the best tea in the city, by the way. But whatever it is, right? I think that it's important that we invest in these spaces and we invest in these spaces equitably. And I think that it's important that we invest a lot more in Burlington right now because it has been left behind by the budgeting process, uh,
Hmm.
and to come back from that and repair that wrong of years past, we need to increase the investment. Um, I know that there's a ton of money moving around right now because of COVID, but that can't we can't allow that to continue the disparity and continue the inequity, and we have to say that we need to push money into Burlington in a way that the community wants and the way that the community can control.
And dare I say, please, 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 city council and city budget members, I understand that UT is a large part of Knoxville. I do. I get it. That definitely attracts more people here to see what Knoxville has to offer as well as what's around us that we have to offer, Gatlinburg and what have you. However, do they need anything else? I mean, for real, like look at um all the new buildings. I rode down Cumberland yesterday and I was like, wow, I remember when that building went up and that building went up. And I understand they have their own monies as well. However, I do know that, the city has to budget something into them as well, whether it be streets or housing or crosswalks, whatever it is. This side of town is for real the last person or the last place on the list in the city. And we feel forgotten, and it shouldn't feel that way for all of its citizens. I keep hearing this saying that Knoxville is a great place for all its citizens. However, that's a contradictory lie if it's not great for all of its citizens. So we just want to, it's not we want to feel like we need to fit in. We stand out for a reason. So let us stand out. Don't stop our shine. We're just trying to be wonderful and great as well as anybody else. So yeah, just wanting to do better.
I had this idea the other day. I was reading this book. talking about how the budgeting process became immoral in South America. And there was one of the South American presidents. I promise I'm bringing this back to Burlington. There was one of the South American presidents that wanted to start a debtors cartel, right? So all these Latin American countries that had been kind of pushed, like debt had been pushed on them, just like get together and start a cartel and be like, we ain't paying. It would be interesting to start like a left behind neighborhoods cartel, right? So you get like Vestal and Burlington and other neighborhoods that have been left behind and disinvested, get together and form a coalition and say, look, it's not just one of us. There are many of us that have been left behind, and we've gotten together, and now we're demanding investment.
I think that goes back to what you said. I think my second time meeting you, perhaps, about cooperative businesses. Um, and maybe that might have been David. I'm sorry, I talked to so many people. It's so many ideas rolling around.
I like that. I like where you're going, so I'll take it.
Yeah, but the cooperative business, I think that will be more beneficial to us as well because, like you said, people from all points of town who really have not got the best end of the stick. I think they get five families together, put 2,000 apiece, and invest that money and continue to do that. It is to my understanding, and I could be wrong. I might need to read up on this a little more. The Chinese community does that, so they might stack money up until it's about 10 or 15,000 for someone to open their business, and that person continues to put the money back in the pot as well, a little bit at a time, and then the next person who's in line to open their business will get the next 20,000 or what have you. And so it just makes sense that when people aren't when the right people aren't here to help us, we have to help ourselves.
Yeah. So one of the big things that essentially what you're talking about is a solidarity economy, right? So an economy built on solidarity rather than greed. So
Mhm.
it's not just the state and the market in this tug of war, because right now we essentially have like one political party that's all about the market and one political party that's more or less about the state. But really, there's a third leg to that stool, and that's
Right.
the community. And we've allowed too much of community responsibility and what works best in community to be pulled into the market and the state. So
Right.
if we can say, okay, look, the state can help us fund some of these things for sure, and the market can help us fund some of these things. Uh, but really, we want the community, whether they be like community land trusts.
Mhm.
So what that is like, we have a plan to create an affordable housing trust fund from the state. So the state's not administrating affordable housing. They're giving grants to communities to say, look, you can start a community land trust. You can go in with this money and buy lots of houses in your neighborhood, form them under a community land trust, and then you can sell the house, but the neighborhood's going to own the property, and we're going to make sure that it
It
doesn't
stays
get
within.
bought up by a developer, but we're also making sure that it's sustainable and that it's being well maintained. And we're replacing the windows so they'll be double paned, so the KUB bill is not going to be higher than the rent. Uh, but
Right.
it's about giving the community ownership of the community, and that is a beautiful thing, especially when we talk about starting community businesses, when we talk about building up. The current food truck parks are in Knoxville are all private businesses, which is fine. But it would be beautiful if Burlington's food truck park was a community organization, right? A community held
Coming from
cooperative.
gardens and all the way from, like you said, garden to table within everyone working in that business.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful. So I think that there's huge potential in Burlington. I think that there's a bright future ahead for the people of Burlington, but we have to make sure that governments are funding that future and helping get it off the ground. So you've got my support, and I think based on some of the messages and stuff we're getting, I think you've got a lot of people's support. So we're going to continue to talk about it and continue to push on it. But yeah, anything you want to wrap up and say? And
Yeah, so I've been jotting down my agenda as far as my role right now, and I need your help, people. Um, I've talked to any and everybody who will listen. I need help. I am still working. I've not stopped working, unfortunately. So I work several jobs, and I want to be a part of the change. So just a few things that I wanted to go over. Well, at least the plan. Let's just say that we're going to call it the plan. And I do want to get a consensus on uh, if what I've said is incorrect, if you have some input as to how we can change what I've said, or listen, my opinion is not the only opinion. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with disagreement. So if you have anything to add, I value anything and anyone who has anything to add. Um, but my plan, in essence, I want to um, reconstruct how we've learned and how we've lived. We've been taught one way to live, and we've learned it, and it's almost become second nature, and it's not working for us. And so, just for the Burlington and the East Knoxville community and any other community who has that same socioeconomic background of under a certain amount of money, um, then we need to really think how we're going to teach the next generation not to follow our path because it's not working. We're still in the same boat, unfortunately, that our parents were. So, my plan, and this is a little 6 step plan, I'm just going to kind of highlight some things. Please make sure that you can send me suggestions if you have any to my email. That's Deborah Deborah dot Ingram Ingram 33 at yahoo.com. I will respond. I just want to make sure that I'm getting everybody's feedback in Burlington, especially because this is not just my community. This is our community. So number one, I wanted to, like I stated, um, create cooperative businesses that will kind of help us circulate the money within our community. However that works, we would have to look at that in the plan structure, of course. Um, Also, to create a committee to oversee all activities governing our. I'm trying to see what I read or wrote. Oh, governing our plans and our actions, just to make sure that everyone is acting accordingly. That it's not anyone being more greedy than the other. That someone doesn't feel like they're getting more or less of anything. That everybody's opinion is in, and that we're all making the decision together. Um, as you stated, Matthew, kind of going back to the basics as well, building trust and communication with the spaces that we need. So we need spaces to create and organize. And the first thing is breaking the wall of communication and talking to each other and dealing with each other and respecting and not judging each other because none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't know anyone that is. And so we don't have time to judge. We have time for action right now at this point. Um, Fourth, I have create another governing body that will be under the previous committee that I mentioned. They will help us with any proposed changes to the city, or excuse me, from the city or from any outside body to help us supervise all modifications and to make sure that we are um, making sure that we kind of keeping an eye on funding and appropriations and anything that's moving, basically. So, kind of like a board, I guess you can say, that anyone that wants to do anything in this neighborhood needs to go through. That way, we all have a decision as opposed to someone sliding in whatever plans they've already drawn out and have money for. Um, we have to unlearn and then teach ourselves financial concepts and business practices. Kind of enforce the education either outside of the school, but preferably in the school, um, and just kind of helping to address the environmental and the community needs from our next generation's aspect. They will be our leaders. They're going to change the world for us for real because they're living in a way different time than we could have ever imagined. And so it's up to us to not only allow them to learn from school, but teach them things at home that we were not taught. Personally, I'm just learning more about credit. I'm just learning more about um, understanding home ownership and different loans and different things and project opportunities out there to help you fund it. But also, I'm learning about the barriers to those as well. So, again, this is stuff that I was not taught. I can say that specifically for myself um, when I was younger, but I've learned along the way, I guess you can say. And so I think it's better for us to teach our kids now so they are not set up for failure. Because the dream of, oh, everyone wants to go to college, it doesn't always happen, but maybe they can go to get a trade. So we need to make sure that we're enforcing different opportunity to our children other than the one that everybody has been on the promised land goal for, going to college, getting a great job. It's not worked, unfortunately, people. Um, but it's great to have. I will say that. Lastly, again, I think we should go in depth into teaching economics and marketing strategies that will enhance knowledge of investment concepts. Again, that goes back to us understanding how the dollar works, where it can come from, what different formats we can get it in, how it can be utilized, and how it can be allocated to different bodies in the neighborhood, but still benefit the entire neighborhood. That's just my basic agenda right now. I'm still tweaking it. And so, again, if you have any suggestions, I definitely want to hear them, especially if you live or know anyone that lives in the Burlington area.
That's awesome. And I hope that, especially like just trying to think about some of the things that I could work for on the state level to help with this. The last two, like teaching new financial concepts and unlearning, bad ones, but also teaching economics and marketing strategies for business. A lot of that, I think, comes with creating a black-led bank in Tennessee, because there have been so many instances of redlining still in banks that we have. It's time that we have a black-led bank that has money and ability to go in and take care of these last few points that you were talking about and work with the community.
Great.
And I look forward to the day that we have a black banking branch in Burlington. I think
Agreed.
that'd be huge for the community.
Yeah, and I think that will my whole goal. I'm so tired of seeing check cash in place and cash advance places. That puts people in so much debt. The interest rate on those loans are astronomical.
Six
So
hundred percent, right?
right, right. So whoever can pay that off, you better off paying off a house or a car instead of that. And you never get anywhere. So why not learn about those financial concepts before going to go get that loan and knowing that that 600% interest is going to kill you in payment. You've paid it three times over before you're done, as opposed to being able to go in a bank, have the right credit or have a decent credit to be able to get a minimal loan or nano loan.
Yep, absolutely. And so that's why I think we need to give capital to business owners. We need to ban payday loans. We need to kick those people out of our state. They don't need to be here. They're preying on our low income and our communities of color, and it's
Hmm.
time to end that. It's terrible, and we need to again push into this black bank to fill the void, because there are people that use payday loans as a banking tool,
Hmm.
and they're losing a lot of money because of that. But there's no recourse right now. There's no way out. Uh,
And to my knowledge, there's not a lot of oversight on these advanced loans or payday loan places. Now, I do know that I think New York and Arkansas has banned them. So they if you find one, they almost are never going to stay in business because they do not allow their predatory lending.
mhm.
And that's what we need to stop predatory lending.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to
Yeah.
continuing these conversations and seeing you again in person. I hope soon when hopefully things are getting better. Right now, we're going in the wrong direction, but uh, yeah,
Mask up, everybody. Please encourage your people to vote. I am going to be working on some things as far as getting people to the polls if we do have to go in person. So I will let y'all know as soon as I know more. If anybody wants to volunteer in that, please let me know. And just stay safe, y'all. I need to be able to see y'all and then touch y'all after all of this goes away.
absolutely. And early voting starts July 17th, which is this Friday. So please, if you, we have a little bit of a strategy for helping people get to the polls, and we're answering phone calls right now. If you have any issues getting an absentee ballot, we're giving advice on where you need to go and who you need to talk to at the election commission. So please send us an email or Facebook message or whatever if you need help getting to the polls, or if you need help finding your polling place or help requesting an absentee ballot. You can request an absentee ballot up until the end of July. So,
And can I make one last note? I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Please, everybody, research your candidates. I'm partner with Mark. Excuse me, I said Mark Matthew. My apologies. Uh, because I've met him in person, and I've seen who he is. I see what he's standing on, what he's about, what his intentions are, and I stand with him on his intentions because it's a like mind of my own. But if I didn't, I still would talk to Matthew. We still would have conversations because it needs to be had. But research your candidate. Make sure that you're making the right selection for you, not because your family's doing it, not because it's popular to choose this guy, not because we all should go Democrat. Do what works for you.
Absolutely. Vote your heart and vote your conscience every single time. Don't now is not the time to say, I don't know if they could get elected, or if I don't, this is who my mom or dad's doing, right? I grew up in a family where my dad was a hardcore liberal and my mom is a hardcore Republican. They're not married anymore, as you might assume.
They kill each other.
Was they're good, but they're nobody. Yeah. But yeah, it was always an interesting, like, what do you believe, Matt? Like, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm 10. Like,
Right. I don't want to know.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much again, and thank everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
Please reach out to see how you can help. The thing you can help right now, if you don't live anywhere near Burlington, but you're like, that needs to be fixed, and we need to get money to that area, reach out to your city councilor.
Make noise.
Yeah, make noise. If you've got a noisemaker, you can attend. Well, you can't attend city council meetings, but you can send emails to your city councilors and say, hey, we think our city should help Burlington. And that'll go a long way for sure when it starts coming from everybody.
Use your voice, email, vote, say what you need to, and let your actions speak and not your words. Mm-hmm. Have a good night, y'all. We love you.
Good night. Thank you, Deborah. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Matthew.